So yeah, welcome to today's webinar. This is going to be focusing specifically on the Circuit client portal. So we're going to be going a bit into detail. I'll let you know what we're going to be covering in a second. We do have a Q&A section, so I just want to call that out now. If there's any questions or thoughts or clarifications or feedback you have that comes up throughout the presentation, feel free to drop it in there. We're going to have a good chunk of time at the end to cover things. If you have stuff that isn't specific to the client portal, drop it in there anyway, and I'll do my best to answer it. Or if someone else on the call has the details, they will. But if for any reason, I see we already have a couple of questions there. If for any reason we can't cover them on this call, we've got everyone's email who's subscribed to the webinar, and we'll follow up with you directly afterwards. So yeah, definitely fire away with any questions that you have. So onwards. So first, a quick introduction to who am I and why am I talking. So I'm Sam. I'm part of the product team here at Circuit. I joined a few months ago, and I'm really focusing specifically on the Circuit client portal. And we'll explain in a bit more why that's happening. But yeah, really nice to meet you all, and excited to chat to you a bit about how Circuit is doubling down on how we can help you in your relationships with your clients. So a quick poll that we wanted to run here before we started was to get a bit more of a read on what the biggest challenge you folks are facing right now when it comes to managing your clients. So I think I'm going to just kick that off right now, so you'll be able to see it should pop up on your screen. There you go. Hopefully everyone can see this. So what we've got a few different options here that you can pick from. So the biggest challenge is it that clients are giving you inaccurate or missing stop details. I see someone's answered already. Is it that spending time answering client queries and the effort that takes, late or missing payments from clients, maybe finding clients in the first place? Or lastly, is it something else? And if it's something else, feel free to drop it in the chat here. If you're looking for it, it should be part of the menu bar that you've got here. You can drop it in the chat there, and I'll kind of read it out. We can maybe, if we can get any extra detail, feel free to let us know. But otherwise, we'll give it a couple of minutes, let folks have a vote, and I'm curious to see what we come up with there. Okay, that's interesting. So it looks like the majority of folks mentioned clients giving inaccurate or missing stop details, which, yeah, definitely not a surprise. And also the amount of time spent answering client questions or queries. So this is good. This could have gone terribly, but fortunately, hopefully I'm going to talk to you folks about a few different ways in which the client portal can already help you with some of these challenges, and hopefully even more so new ways in the future that we can help even more with them. So thank you very much for sharing that. So moving on. So what are we going to cover today? Firstly, just a quick introduction to the client portal, when we started it, what's happened to date. Then moving on a bit about why we built it. So to really explain to folks here why we invested the time and effort to build a client portal, what it does, which hopefully will be quite informative, in what you can actually expect yourselves and your clients to be able to do using the portal. Lastly, I'll also touch a little bit on what's coming next, so a bit of a sneak peek into our roadmap over the next few months. And that hopefully is also an opportunity for feedback from you folks. If there's anything missing, anything additional that you'd like, it'd be great to hear. I'd love, we're all ears. And we'll definitely leave a healthy chunk of time for any questions or any feedback that you all want to share. As I mentioned, if you want to drop feedback or questions in, there's the Q&A section. Definitely use that rather than the chat, just because it allows us to kind of vote on things, everyone else can see it, and we can have a bit more of a discussion around it, hopefully at the end. So first things first, the client portal. We started work on the client portal, Circuit started work on the client portal back in 2024. But I think it's worth noting here that we've really started to ramp up investment in the client portal over the last few months, and it's this webinar. So myself joining, we're starting to build a team specifically around the client portal and how we can build it out. And so we'll definitely be open to feedback and ideas from the community and the Circuit users as to how we can keep doing that. But yeah, launched back in 2024. It's built specifically for retailers, your clients. So that's who we expect to be using it. We don't expect it to be something that you yourselves have to log in and manage. As couriers, this is something that we expect retailers to be able to use. It should be intuitive and easy for them to sign up and adopt. So that's really what we're aiming for. And really important to note here is that it is very much obviously connected to Circuit for Teams. But more than that, we're really endeavoring to make sure that the information that you see in your Circuit for Teams account is wherever you want it to be, also shared with your clients. So to have that kind of standardization across the experience, so that what you're seeing, they're able to see as well, and reducing that back and forth that a good chunk of the folks on the call flagged as a problematic or a challenging area in their client relationships. Being connected to Circuit for Teams allows us to hopefully minimize that back and forth. So why did we build it? I mean, we might have covered a little bit of that there already, but the main goal here is to streamline client communications for yourselves and for the client. So before, I think some of this is hopefully, unfortunately, familiar to the people on the call. So the situation before, as you all voted on in that poll, the challenges around incorrect or missing information stopped from the client. Constant back and forth by email, phone, WhatsApp. This might be because they're chasing missing deliveries. It might be because they want, a proof of delivery, or there's another question from the recipient that they're trying to manage that you're having to go back and forth on. And also within that, clients asking for ETAs, for proofs, and much, much more. Hopefully, the way this evolves afterwards is what we're building towards, and what we hope we can already make some progress towards, is the validated stops are sent to couriers. So the stops that you're receiving are validated, accurate, and you have control over what information must be given to you before you'll accept it. And this, ultimately, the goal behind this is to have less failures. And then secondly, shared context on every order automatically. So that if you have information about that order, or the client has it, that everybody has the same information visible in their circuit teams and their circuit client portal account. And this is, again, we think very, very important, and hopefully a step towards allowing you folks to eliminate that back and forth that we were just covering in the poll just beforehand. So how does it do this? What are the features? What's the actual practical stuff that you can do, or your clients can do in the client portal? The first thing that folks are able to do, your clients, is they can actually upload stops directly to your CFT account via the client portal. They can directly upload them there, and we have built-in address validation as part of this. There's much more we can do here, we think, in terms of the validation and the checks. But the first step is that we validate the address and make sure it's an actual address. But there's a lot more we can do here. But this basically allows less errors because you're not managing so many spreadsheets. There's not so much back and forth. The client can just directly add it to the portal, and then it'll become visible in your CFT. They're immediately visible as well. And so there's no delay here. You can just upload them straight away and they'll become visible in there. And once they're there, you have that single stop artifact that's visible in both products, and the information can be standardized across the two. Another feature that we've introduced is something called shared notes. So what's important about this, as we mentioned before, the endless back and forth, or the excessive back and forth that might happen when you're trying to communicate with your clients. I'm trying to ensure there's successful deliveries. One of the features we've introduced to allow you to eliminate this is shared notes. So these can be notes that are created by the client when they're creating the stop. They can put something in there for you to see. Could be the gate code, could be something else that the recipient has given them. But then also it's something that you can add that is then visible. You can edit or add to those notes, and that will also then be visible in the client portal. So let's say there's an update, something specific around the reason that it couldn't be dropped off, the gate was locked, or the gate code has changed. That's something that could then also be communicated back to the client, again, reducing that back and forth and sharing that context. This is only the start for this. We think there's a lot more that we can do here, and we're definitely keeping a very close eye on what this is used for. And if anyone has any feedback on this, that would be great. To understand, are there any standardized things that people always want to use this for? Entry instructions, could we be more explicit here? But to start with, for now, you do have that ability to kind of share back and forward, whatever you want, really using this notes field. We also have the ability to see the status of stops. So at a glance, clients can see very, very quickly what's scheduled, what's in progress, and what's completed. So once you've assigned something to a route in CFT, they can see that. They can also see once it's out for delivery. Then they can see once it's completed. And hopefully not too often, they can see once it's failed. But they can also filter down for all of these as well. So it just really gives them a very quick way at a glance to see the status of all of their different deliveries or stops that are out, or that are in progress, or that have completed. And this can be very helpful as well for them when they're trying to check up on things that have happened in the past. And it means that that burden isn't on you. Go in and find these stops. They should be able to do it all within their circuit client portal. Another feature that is built into this is to show ETAs as well. So this is for the use case when if your recipient reaches out, they want more specificity on when something is available. They're not using a tracking page, and they reach out to your client. They don't have to reach out to you to find out when what the ETA is. They can actually just log in directly to the portal, and they'll be able to see it once the route is in progress. And hopefully all of this means that clients can now handle more recipient disputes themselves. And that's a win for everybody because they can respond faster, and it's a win, hopefully, for yourselves, because you don't have to go in and get that information. It's just visible for them straight away. And related to that, there's kind of a theme here in terms of shared context, the ability to view proof of deliveries or other proofs, and yet any images attached with a stop. So proof of delivery and other images are automatically shown in the portal once they're added to the stop in CFT. So as you see in the screenshot here, this might be the signature that's requested. It might be photos. And these are also visible if, for example, the stop fails and there's a photo to show why it couldn't happen. There's a giant truck parked in the way or something. Again, this is all visible to the client, and so you don't have to be forwarding on or fielding requests for it. And hopefully they can also download these. So maybe they want to send it on to the recipient, or there's other uses that they have for these. They want to keep their own records. They can download them as needed as well. And on this as well, this applies to proof of delivery, but also in general for any stop that they have in their Circuit client portal, they can perform historical searches. So this isn't information that disappears. If they want to check on something that, to say they have a long-running dispute with the recipient, they can keep checking, and that stop's not going to go anywhere. Or also if they want to check back historically to see how things have been going, or revisit old stops for any reason, this information is all in there for them. Not something you're going to have to go and find. So that's kind of a quick run through of what you can do in the client portal. Again, if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. Super happy to kind of cover them off. And yeah, we can dive into them a little bit later if we need to. Cool. So now what I would like to do is just a very quick demo. I'm happy to demo the rest of the product, any of those features that anyone would like demoed in a bit more detail. Also, feel free to drop that in the Q&A. I'm super happy to do that at the end of the slides that we've got here. Any of those features we can also go dive in and get into a bit more detail. But what I'd like to show here, that maybe is the first step to all of that, is actually how to invite your clients in the first place. So for anyone who's not familiar, I'm just going to do a very quick run through of how you actually do that in Circuit. So you should now be seeing the Circuit for Teams with a couple of dummy stops from myself. Looks like I'm shipping stuff to both Herefordshire and Spain, which is it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'd like to show you all how you actually invite your clients. So first thing, it's not here on the main page. This is in your settings area. So when you go to settings, you'll notice here on your left-hand menu bar, there is a section under external parties. It's the same place you would configure any recipient notifications. And this is the place you go to, and you'll see under here, you have the client portal. So when you go to there, there's a dedicated section here. Now I have 7 connected clients. I've been testing this out, obviously, to make sure it works many, many times. But you'll see here you have your connected clients. I'll show you here how you actually add a new one, and then we can cover a little bit what you can do and how you can configure what that client can do. So you'll see here there's an option to add a new client, and then there's a client's name. So something important to note around the client name is that this is only used internally for you. This is how you would refer to that client. It's not something that they see, or it's not visible on their dashboards. They have their own sign-up flow where they can say what they're called. So this is for you if you don't necessarily refer to them as their full business name. Maybe there's a point of contact or something else. You can use whatever you want in this field, and that will be the client's name for your Circuit teams. And there's a couple of different ways you can invite them. You can either invite them with a link or via email. Email is helpful if you know exactly who you want to invite and be using the account, but the link is quite useful if you want to send it over and allow them to choose, right, this is the person that's going to sign up and actually use this Circuit Teams, and then they can decide exactly which user is going to be the person managing it. So when I create my flower store, I then create my invite link for this example. And you can see here, here's my invitation. You'll notice this is pending, so don't worry if you make a mistake or something. If you say you don't want them to have access anymore, you can revoke access to a pending invite, but also any of the other ones. So if you have someone who's already signed up, you can also revoke their access. That will they'll keep it. Then they won't be able to send you any more orders or view any new ones. It's quite easy to revoke access there, and you can edit the name if you want to. And then crucially for now, this is the one thing you can configure in terms of settings, but this is something we're looking to grow. And again, any feedback or thoughts of additional things you would like to be able to configure at this point, please let us know, drop them in the Q&A. But what I demoed to you before, the ability to, I discussed before, the ability to upload orders, that is something you can decide whether your client can or cannot do that. So if you decide you don't want them to be able to upload orders, very simple, you leave this off, which is by default. If you said you do want them to upload orders, then you can toggle it on, and then you can also pick the default depot that will work towards. So again, I think just generally we have the principle of wanting to maintain your control in terms of what your clients can and cannot send you or view. And so this is just the first step towards that. If you don't want your client uploading orders, they don't have to be able to. You can leave that off by default. Yeah, I think that's generally how you invite your clients. If anyone has any questions, again, pop them over and we can cover them at the end. So lastly, last bit, we'll see if anyone has any questions. I want to do just a very quick sneak peek into some of the stuff that's coming up soon. So obviously, as I mentioned before, we're building out a team towards this now. And we can expect the rate of change to increase in terms of the client portal. So I want to share a few more things that are coming down the line and get your feedback on what else you'd like to see. So I think the first thing to mention that we're looking to add is very soon we'll be looking to integrate with your client's Shopify account. So this is about allowing, as some of you may already use, we do have a Shopify integration for Circuits for Teams. And we know that a number of our customers use that as a workaround to get their clients to share their Shopify login details, authentication details with them, and then they set up an integration to pull things in automatically. This works, but it obviously has some limitations in the fact that you have to share the authentication details, and it also puts the burden on yourselves to maintain that integration and look after it. We think there's definitely some progress and some things we can help here with by actually integrating directly with the client's Shopify account, so that if they receive orders or stocks that match certain criteria, they can be pulled directly into the client portal and then forwarded on to your Circuit team from there. So that's one of the things we're looking to add pretty soon. On top of that, something else we're looking to add pretty soon is live driver tracking. So building on the concept of ETAs, which I mentioned before, which would allow to see like a rough ETA. We're also looking at ways to enhance that by actually offering live driver tracking to clients as well. So again, just another step towards reducing the number of questions they might need to ask you, giving more visibility to the client and ultimately the recipient on the other end. And that's something we're looking at pretty soon. And the astute among you will have noticed that right now, only one user can sign up for the client portal for a specific client. So once they've signed up for one email, they'd have to use that email for any logins. We know that this isn't optimal. There are a number of clients we've already spoken to, couriers who they have multiple users who perform different functions. For example, there might be one who manages customer support and another who's responsible for uploading the orders. And right now it's doable, but it's not ideal because you have to share an email. So we're definitely looking at adding multiple users pretty soon and advanced permissions in there as well, so that one person might be able to upload orders and view things. Others might just be able to view things. So that's just a little taste of some of the things we've got coming soon. Definitely super interested to hear what anyone else might be missing right now. And yeah, I think we can maybe see if there's any questions and dive into the Q&A a bit. I think Colin, has asked a question actually in the chat. So give me 1 second. I might, it's okay. I might unmute you, Colin, and maybe you can ask your question, because I think in the chat only I can see that. So I might unmute it and see if you want to just ask the question out loud, and I'll respond to it. That's cool. Bear with me 1 second while I work out how to do that. Okay, cool. Colin, you should be able to unmute if you want to ask your question out loud, and I can cover it from there. No, I don't think we can hear you. 1 second. Okay. I don't think we can hear you, Colin, but I might, unless someone else can, I can't. So I'll just read the question out. Yeah, that's okay. No worries, Colin. Yeah, it just seems a bit quiet, but I'll read out the question and let me know in the chat if I've got this wrong or I'm misrepresenting it at all. So Colin was asking at some point whether they'll be tracking to see which exact route they took, which exact route the driver took. That sometimes the drivers don't follow what is on an overview map, and it'd be cool to see which roads they actually took. Just checking, Colin, do you mean specifically, and feel free to write to me in the chat just to clarify this, do you mean specifically for you as the courier in your Circuit for Teams to be able to see this, as opposed to the client being able to see it? Oh, yeah, I see Meg, who's actually our runs product for Circuit for Teams specifically, not the client portals, raised their hand. So Meg, did you want to cover this one?
Hi there. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm Megan, and like Sam said, I'm the VP of product on the Circuit for Teams, the courier part of our product. So, what you're describing, yes, that is actually in the plan and on our roadmap. We're essentially going to do something like a route replay, which will allow you to see the exact path that the driver took. Perhaps after that, we can layer it on and show you a comparison to the planned route and the actual route, but that is on the roadmap. I'd say I can't give an exact timeline, but it's something I'm actively planning now, and I think we'll be able to start working on before the end of the year.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Megan. Hope that covers. Well, I've got you on the line, Meg. I think there's
Yes.
another CFD related question, I think, at the top of the Q&A. So Gianni, if I unmute you, are you able to ask your question? Because I think it probably is one that Meg is best positioned to field as well. Let me just make sure I can unmute you. And hopefully you can speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask about the PVA, I think you called it like something like uh, actual duration versus estimated duration of routes. I just wanted to know about the parameters that you've set up. So if it is from start of depot to end of depot, and how that is kind of how the route duration is like calculated. So some of our riders will press start when they leave the depot, but then press finish, route completed when they do their last drop. So obviously that's a like potentially different total duration and estimated. Does that make sense?
Yes, that definitely makes sense. Thank you for the question. So you're right. This is a problem that we acknowledge and that hasn't operated exactly as you would need to be super precise. And so we've actually already designed how we're going to improve this, which is
Mm.
the first step is that what we're starting to build now is the dispatcher or anybody with either dispatcher, admin, or depot manager permissions will be able to mark a route as complete and then set the applicable date and time so that the analytics won't be skewed. And we're going to provide a reasonable default for that end time and date. That way you don't have to go back and try to look for it. So that is one area. And then the other area that we haven't finalized yet that we're considering is how to ping the driver in a not very annoying way to confirm that the route is complete if we notice a certain duration of time has passed after the last stop was marked complete. This is simpler for routes that start and end at specified locations, whether that means the depot or some other end address. It's trickier for routes that have no end address. And so that's kind of the last part that we need to come up with a good solution to figure out. But I'd love to hear from you if you see another way that you would like this solved, that those solutions wouldn't work well for.
I guess so. We do a PVA independently, and the way we do it is first drop to last drop, but that is obviously excluding journey time from depot to first drop, and
Right.
then from last drop back to depot. So I'm trying to compare our data with your data and then realize that obviously they're not comparable. Um, and then my only other thought would be like some sort of geolocation ping of like being in the depot, but I don't know if that's possible or not.
Yeah, that's a good shout. So we can consider something like first drop to last drop, obviously acknowledging that that is one way to define that, right? So that is helpful. And then the second part around the geolocation. So we're more broadly thinking about different use cases for geofencing. For example, allowing drivers to only even attempt a stop by marking it complete or failed if they're within a certain radius of an address. And equally, if you use proof of delivery, only being able to submit proof of delivery if they're within a specific radius as well. These would only be possible reliably and at an accuracy that we would consider high enough quality if the driver is using the navigation within this Circuit for Teams driver app. If they hop out to another app, even if it's Google, which we use internally, we don't have precise enough, or we don't think that that's precise enough to give you to put our like stamp on it. So we can consider that as that use case that you just described. Like if they're within a certain radius of the depot, we could mark the route as complete. But it'll require us to really fine tune what that radius should be and how to deal with signals dropping and any other issues that could come up. So that one I see as taking a bit longer to work through properly.
Amazing. Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome. Sam, you can take over the webinar again.
It's okay,
Unless
no worries.
anybody wants to talk about Circuit for Teams, but I'm here to hear about the client portal too.
All good. Nice one. Thanks for the question, Jenny. So there's a couple other here. I'll just cover them quickly. So we have a question from Julian, so asking how much does the portal cost and how do I make sure my clients input the right order and delivery info? So the good news is the portal, it doesn't cost anything. So it's part of the Circuit for Teams subscription. So it's, you know, if you're using Circuit for Teams, you get access to the portal as well. And it doesn't matter, you can add as many clients to it as you want. That won't edit, won't have a cost associated with it either. The second part of your question, how do I make sure my clients input the right order and delivery information? It's a great question, and it's something that we do a little bit of, but I think we can do a lot more. So right now, the only thing we validate is the address is a real address when they're putting it in. So there's no additional requirements that you can place on your client to say, right, they have to complete this field and we need this additional information. We don't have that yet, but it's definitely something we're exploring. And if anybody has feedback or specifics of like, hey, we for example, we always require X from our clients, we're all ears and we'd love to hear about it because it's definitely a direction that we want to do a bit more in. And then I think we have a question from Yadira saying, may I ask you? You may ask me anything, Yadira. Go for it. Is there anything, I'll give you the option to speak if you want. I'll check, unmute you and yeah, maybe ask me any questions if you have them. 1 second, let me just remember how to do this. There we go. I think we may not be on the call anymore. No worries. But yes, if you get back, feel free to answer, ask me anything. So you have another question here. So can clients remove or delete orders, and does that delete them from my Circuit for Teams as well? So clients can they can withdraw orders up until the point that you assign them to a route to go out. So when they're in your unassigned stocks, when they've just been sent over, the client can pull them back again. The reason for that is they might make mistakes. They might have duplicates. They might accidentally send over duplicates for a number of orders. And we don't want it to be a mess where they have to reach out to you and say, hey, can you actually delete these X number of orders? So up until the point that you actually assign them or schedule them, yes, the client can withdraw them. Once they're scheduled, then the client can no longer withdraw those. We don't want to get into a scenario where they're pulling stuff that's out for delivery already, for example. So once it's actually scheduled and it's part of a route, the client can no longer withdraw that. If they had an issue with it, they'd have to reach out to you directly. So I hope that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't, and I can also, you can follow up on it. Just going through the questions again. I think Treza had a suggestion, maybe that was the earlier point that Gianni mentioned, to get the actual times. So yeah, good shout there. Colin, I think this might be another one for you, Meg, but do you want to, I think you should still be, or actually you weren't able to speak before, so I can read it out. Will it be available to be able to circle order of routes for desktop like it is on mobile rather than doing the before or after selections? That makes it a lot easier. I think this is as once we submit the route to the driver, we cannot change the order of the routes unless we do the before/after function.
Yeah, I think for this one, I'm just wondering what the before after function, what's meant by that.
Colin, I'm not sure if you're able to speak at the moment, or if you want to drop it in chat just to clarify what you mean there. No worries. If not, we can always. Oh, I said you have to manually order them by selecting before and after.
Okay, I think for this one, the challenge is that once the route is submitted to the driver, making changes is very challenging, is what I'm gathering. And then using the set manual order by I see what you mean. Okay. The way that we have manual order, like selecting a stop and then selecting the other stop to which it relates, and then setting whether it's before immediately before or after and immediately after. Okay, so I understand that you find that cumbersome. Basically, the thing that everybody, okay, sorry, it took me a minute since I don't call it by before and after, but thank you for your patience as I found my way there. So yes, this helps us precisely maintain the desired order in a way that on an interface like desktop is not elegantly possible with dragging and dropping, although dragging and dropping to manually reorder is definitely hotly requested and something I know a lot of people ask for. We haven't found a great way to uphold the accuracy that we have with this before and after part, but I definitely acknowledge that it's a bit clunky. It's something we're thinking about. I don't have a great solution yet because when we've seen how people do the drag and drop, then when you re-optimize a route to reflect changes, it can really mess up the order of the stops that you liked in the first place. So we haven't found a way to get the accuracy of the clunky way we've done it and the smoothness of a drag and drop just yet. But if you have suggestions, I am all ears. Or eyes,
Thank you.
because I'm reading here. So.
No worries. Thanks, Meg. Cool. I think that might be all the questions. You're welcome, Colin. Thank you very much for covering those ones, Meg. Give it a couple more seconds if we've got any more coming in. But while we wait, just like, yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully you found it informative and thanks for the questions afterwards. I believe we'll be sending out like the update and the recording of this as well, so you'll be able to access that. And yeah, really appreciate everyone taking a bit of time to listen to us today and look forward to the next one of these. So thank you, Rob, and have a good evening or morning, depending on where you are.